What's up, guys? It is Sam, and I wanted to talk to you about Joe Biden versus Andrew Yang. And I wanted to go through that in a battle royale. Yes, this is not plugged in. Coming to you live from where I'm at. If this is your first time here, make sure to press that subscribe button. And what's up? And if you're returning, it's good to freaking see you. All right. So where is this battlefield? Well, we've got 7 different battlefields. We've got web search. So we're going to check the web search for Joe Biden versus the web searches for Andrew Yang. And we're going to look at the dispersion over time. Then we're going to look at the YouTube searches. So this is battlefield number 2. And see what that looks like for search volume on YouTube for these candidates. Search volume for Andrew Biden or search volume for, I think I said Andrew Biden or whatever. But just the actual full name, though, Joe Biden or Andrew Yang. And then to kind of get an idea of, so in statistics, stay with me on this, okay? This is probably not super interesting to everybody, but if you're here, then you might find it interesting. Okay, kurtosis. That is a measurement of like a distribution, right? And it is kind of defined as, think of it if you have a regular bell curve, right? And we have 2 exact bell curves, right? One for Biden and one for Andrew Yang. And kurtosis is basically going to tell us the difference in how fat the tails are on the distribution, right? Think of a normal distribution, and then like it comes way down like this. So think of it as lifting those up slightly, meaning that there's more long tail search volume for this candidate, like more into niche areas or more, they're basically winning more in the volume of searches around their name. No, actually it doesn't describe the volume. I take that back because it's actually just in terms of the fat tailness of the distribution. Side note, okay, next battlefield is hashtags on Twitter. We put Andrew Yang up against Joe Biden, and we're going to check that out over time and see who comes out as the winner. Next, we're going to move on to a little bit more personal social media, and we're going to use Facebook as the battlefield. We're going to take a look at some of the likes on the page and the follower change over time and see who is maybe growing a little faster out of these 2 candidates. And I have not gone through this and picked a winner. This is blank. I don't have any data on here yet. And I'm going to go through here live with you guys and see who is actually winning. So you'll get the real reaction as I go through this data. I've looked at some of it, but I haven't gone through and compiled any of this. Okay, next battlefield is actually on Twitter, right? We looked at the hashtags and how are the hashtags trending because that tells us one type of data, right? Around them, but the actual searches for them is also a different type of data. Yes, they're similar, but I think that they tell a little bit different story. One is searching for the individual, and one I feel like is almost part of a group, and that's why they're trying to use it a lot of the times. Obviously, everybody's different in the way that they use hashtags or when they use hashtags and how they use them. That's a completely different video around the psychology around what hashtags you use, but if you want to see that, let me know in the comments. And lastly, the most personal is their actual website. So we were going to go to their campaign website, and we're going to use this tool that's going to rank them up against each other on some parameters, and we're going to see who wins. Now, with that being said, let's jump into it. So we're going to dive into my fucking shit needs to load. We're going to dive into search volume, and the search volume we're going to start with is going to be on Google. So let's take a look. Okay, so over the last, and I'm going to look through so with web and YouTube, I'm not just going to pick one data point because I don't think that tells the story. If you know statistics of any sort, if you look at one data point around some population of data, it's not a very good representative of what's like happening, if that makes sense, in that population. So we're going to start with the 12 months and we're going to zoom in to the most recent and see how this is playing out, and you'll get the idea of what I mean and how the shift in power or shift in the search volume for these characters play out. Okay, so in the macro, right, we've got the past 12 months. The average search volume for Joe Biden is a little bit more than double. It's definitely more than double over the last 12 months. There's been a shitload more volume. And if you look at it on a geographically speaking basis, Joe Biden is searched more as a percentage of searches between these two characters, Andrew Yang and Joe Biden, who gets more of that search volume on a statewide basis. And all the states are Joe Biden across the board. Andrew Yang is not ranking to be the number one searched in that state. Okay, so let's jump in a little bit to the 90-day and take a look at this. We've got the gap actually just like got much smaller. Now, it's still like 30% more search volume coming from Joe Biden. But now, on the geographically speaking basis, Hawaii, I had to look at that state to realize that was Hawaii, even though I lived there. Hawaii is, Andrew Yang is the most searched in that state in the 90-day view. Now, let's jump forwards to 30 days and take a look at what's happening when we look back over the last 30 days. And when you look at 30 days, the search volume for each is almost the same. Andrew Yang is just a little bit less, but they're almost the same if you take a look at the 30-day view. Okay, so I'm going to step in one more time to the 7-day, and at the 7-day, Andrew Yang has more search volume. I did not look at the geographic data last time, but now at the 7-day mark, there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 8 states that have more search volume for Andrew Yang than they do Joe Biden. Now let's come in one more let's go in 2 more times. Let's go to the 24-hour. So looking at the 24-hour, it's almost as if the tables have shifted, where over the past 24 hours, there's almost twice as much search volume on Google for Andrew Yang as there is Joe Biden. And when you look at the geographic layout, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, looks like 7 states that are left to Joe Biden. All the rest of them are searching more for Andrew Yang than they are for Joe Biden. So that's interesting. Now, let's jump in one more time just to the micro. We're going to go into the 1 hour. Over the last hour, it's probably like Andrew Yang has maybe 30 or 40% more in terms of search volume. However, now just glancing down at the geographic map of the United States about the search volume, it looks like about 60% is searching for more of Andrew Yang, but from the 1-day view, where there overall was a lot more Andrew Yang, now it's kind of evened out a little bit, where there's a lot more states that have had a higher search volume for Joe Biden than Andrew Yang. So that's interesting as well. That is the last one we have to look for on web. So I think now, I guess, let's rank. I'm gonna say on web, because on the really macro view he's so far ahead, and Andrew Yang might just be popular in the medium term, right? Where it might just go away. I'm gonna mark this one as Joe Biden wins that category. That war, I should say, because this is a battlefield. Now, next, we're going to go over to YouTube, and we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to go a little bit more quickly. So taking a look at YouTube, already, Andrew, this is the last 12 months. There's about like 6 or 7 states which there's more search volume for him, and he on average gets about 1.25 times more than Joe Biden. Let's quickly step into the 3-month. So this is the 90-day view we're looking at, and it looks like there's about double the amount of search volume for Andrew Yang per search. So for every 1 search of Joe Biden, you have 2 of Andrew Yang. And if you look at the state wide view, there's like 4 states left where Joe Biden has more search volume. So this is pretty interesting because YouTube is fucking gargantuan. So the data on YouTube actually shows a different story than what's on web. And that is why I picked these battlefields, because they all might tell a different story based around the psychology of the person who's using that specific platform. Okay, now let's get back on track, Sam, and go down to the 30-day view here, where if you look at the 30-day view, Andrew Yang has about 3 times the amount of search volume on YouTube as Joe Biden. So every 1 search for Joe Biden, Andrew Yang gets 3. And if you look at the states, only 2 states, one by Texas and Alaska, actually have more search volume for Joe Biden. But instead of being red, they're more of a lighter red, as in there's not much of a lead in those ones. Now, stepping into the 7-day real quick, this could get worse. Nope, actually, it's not bad. It's a little bit, maybe like 2.25% bigger, so double and a little bit extra over the last 7 days on this. Now, let's go to the 24-hour just so we can go the same path through the search volume and get the same idea that we would have gotten from using web. Now, the 24-hour view is interesting. Andrew Yang has about 4 to 1, meaning 1 search for Joe Biden equals 4 for Andrew Yang. Quite a bit more popular in the last 24 hours. Now, lastly, we're going to look at the hourly view, and the same thing. Maybe even slightly more than 4 times as many searches for Andrew Yang instead of Joe Biden, which I think that's pretty interesting. And I think you guys already know that was definitely Andrew Yang. He was way ahead. And I guess Joe Biden was maybe a little bit more ahead on the web. Now let's jump into the kurtosis of this is that super interesting idea of how fat the tails are of the distributions. Okay, so what you do is you get into you're going to run an ad on Google, and you can actually put in the names. I know I'm a nerd. Okay, so you put in Joe Biden and Andrew Yang, and you pull up their names, and then you can press group ideas, which allows you to pick the next 10 searches that are most closely related to these or happen with these. And we've got the top 5 for Andrew, and we've got the top 5 for Joe. Now, the first for Andrew is Yang 2020, and it's got a average monthly searches between 10,000 and 100,000. Okay, so that's interesting. Now, the top for this is the top related to Joe Biden actually is when somebody searches Joe Biden, John McCain. I don't know if that was a thing at some point in the past or whatever, but the average search volume for this is a factor of 10 less. 1,000 to 10,000 searches on a monthly basis. This could get interesting. Andrew Yang 2020 is the next most related, and it has 1,000 to 10,000. Joe Biden also has 1,000 to 10,000, and it's actually John Biden. I don't know who that is. Maybe it's the same thing. Third one down is 100 to... so basically the rest of them for Joe Biden are 100 to 1,000, where the rest of them for Andrew Yang are 10 to 100. So if you think about this in a very theoretical way, like if a bell curve, what this data is telling us is that Joe Biden's tails on the bell curve type look are fatter than Andrew Yang. But because we also get to see the volume here, we get to see that the search volume is a factor of 10 greater for the first search term related to that. So I like to think of that as like the digital relevance of the surrounding area, like what kind of energy is it pulling in with it around the searches, because these kind of all lead to the same area, you know what I mean, when somebody's searching for this. So with that one, I really don't even know if I can call a winner on that one, although yeah, I'm gonna say Andrew Yang. He's got like a factor of 10 he's got 10,000 to 100,000 searches for Andrew Yang 2020, where the first related one for Joe Biden only has 1 to 10,000. So I think that actually gives it to Andrew Yang for sure. So I'm not going to tell you what we have right now. We're just going to jump into the hashtags. And I gotta fucking start moving quickly because this is getting long. Okay, so we're just gonna look at the trend over the past 8 weeks, 2 months. Andrew Yang, I am on, and his is trending up and to the right. So that is good, and they have a projection for the next week where his is going up. Next we have the interesting. So the top 6 languages, right? This is what they call it. 78% are English, and 22% it says unrecognized. They might just not get enough volume of data to register anything yet. So that's kind of interesting. That's pretty low, and not in a bad way, but I think a diverse way. I think Joe Biden's will probably be higher, like more. Think of like, I don't know, fucking white when I think of Joe Biden. So I would think of like English, and I think that his percentage will be higher. Anyways, okay, let's jump over to the next one. We've got Joe Biden hashtag. Over the past 2 months, he has been trending down and to the right. So we've on here what the hashtag for Joe Biden and the hashtag for Andrew Yang is telling us that's happening on Twitter is that people are using the Andrew Yang hashtag more on Twitter over time, and they're using less of the hashtag Joe Biden over time, which is interesting, right? Okay, and for Joe Biden, the English language is 89%, where, remember when we jumped over to Andrew Yang, his for the language, top languages is what they call it, is 78%. So Andrew Yang has a much more diverse group of people that are interested in him, right? Because if you have the top languages associated with you using the like people who use this hashtag, we get to see like their ethnicity through like the, you know, are you male, female, and you put in some shit, or maybe there's an algorithm that does it or whatever, or maybe just the actual language somebody types in. Actually, that's probably the most likely. And there's a lot more people of different languages using the hashtag for Andrew Yang, which is kind of interesting because that applies to, it implies that he relates to a more diverse audience, which could potentially be bigger. In this one, it is definitely Andrew Yang. His is up and to the right, where Joe Biden is down to the left. Next, what we're going to do, and also the projection for Joe Biden is down and to the right, just like it's continuing with the trend. Next, we're going to jump over to Facebook. And we've got Andrew Yang, and his number of followers is just up and to the right. He's had a total monthly average likes of 26,000, and his page has 165,000 likes on it. Joe Biden has a 1.5 million, so in terms of likes, he fucking destroys him, but he's been in that spotlight for a long time. But this is super interesting. So he's got a fuckload, that's a technical term, more likes, right? Like 1.5 million versus 165,000, like a shitload, or like almost a factor of 10 more likes on his page, and he gets 7,000 likes per month on average, and Andrew Yang gets 26,000, over 26,000 likes on his, so that's kind of interesting. His page is going up and to the right as well. So on the growth of their, I'm not going to actually look at that data because I don't want to bore you guys. Anyway, so this I'm going to give this to Andrew Yang. His group of people that like are way more engaged. Although it could just be because he's so small, because he's only got 165,000. So you would expect the engagement rate to go down as the other numbers went up. And next, we're going to take a look at Twitter. We've got, let's see, number of followers over the past 30 days. Hey, I'm actually going to have to wrap this up here and make a part number 2. Sorry to jump this on you, but my camera stops recording in about 1 minute, so I don't want to lose any of this footage. But if you want to watch that video, click on the channel. It will be the one uploaded after this. Peace.